Hey guys, this is bringing you another video and welcome to a dev update type video. Honestly, some of my favorite videos to make are dev update videos. I think people know that. I'm really passionate about game design and I just generally have quite a nice time talking about it and theory crafting. And one of my favorite things as well is actually getting your feedback and then having an ongoing conversation. One of the things that I've actually been really proud of for the last couple of years as a content creator, I've gotten myself in the position of being invited to dev meetings. So I get to talk to devs, I get to ask them questions, I get to know things a little bit ahead of time and give my opinions on some things. And although, well, I will say I was involved in a Riot dev meeting very recently, and that wasn't about this, although I did ask a question that is actually within this. But I will say there's going to be a separate dev video coming out very soon where I talk about that dev meeting. And all I will say about that one, and that's going to come out in the next couple days, I did, and people did directly ask the question about voice chat and stuff like that, and Riot did give an answer to that. So tune into that dev video if you want to hear about other topics. This dev video is about this blog that is Matchmaking and Champion Select Fall 2022. So this is basically an update. I've not read it yet, but I do know a couple things I believe that are within. It's an update on everything matchmaking, ranked queues, and all that stuff. Basically everything that isn't directly the video game, things that are outside the video game, that we all, I don't know, we all really care about. And sometimes it actually feels that this stuff affects our rank more than the actual in-game experience does, which is really bizarre. So let's get into it. So it came out a couple hours ago, but I'll be slotting this video in wherever I can, basically. But let's get into it. So it's been a while since we've talked about some of our around game systems, so let's get into it. So to some context, internally we're called the Game Loop team and responsible for all of the around game things that contribute to and affect your experience in the game, like matchmaking, champ select, and various summons Rift queue type, that you use to select the type of play you want. Overall, what we want to do is set you up with fair matches, and then after you hit that accept button, it gives you the tools to prepare yourself and your team for in-game success. So that's basically it. They're not balancing the game in any regard. They are doing everything getting you into the game. It's your experience getting into the match is what these people are in charge of. So let's go through one at a time. Is that the bottom? Yeah, okay, that's the bottom of that one. So the first one is called Revival MMR. So what have they done recently? So this is all updates recently. I believe, what I'm guessing, later in the article, we're going to go over things that are going to be coming in the future. So Revival MMR, basically, we have spoken about this in the past, that it was a little bit broken of if you were a league player a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and you stopped playing and you've come back on the same account, the game sometimes just wouldn't really recognize that you went away. And obviously not playing the game for over a year, you're not exactly going to be the same player. You know, you're going to be a bit rusty. You're not going to know any of the new stuff. So to jump back into basically the same MMR was really dumb, for want of a better word. So what they've done is they rolled out to normal queues, and not ranked queues, because that could be technically abused is what I'm guessing, but to normal queues. So, you know, you'd think if you've not played in over a year or 2 or 3 years, you wouldn't jump straight into a ranked game. You'd go into normal queue to get your kind of skill back to where it was or nearby. So into normal queues, they've fixed the Revival MMR. So it's more, it recognizes if you've been away, basically. And before they did this change, a returning player would have, on average, a 44.5% chance to win their first game, which is quite low. That has gone to 48%. And then it reaches a 50%, a dead even win rate, by game 10, where it used to be 48% win rate by game 10. So still a negative win rate after playing 10 games. So it's just a little bit healthier for those that haven't been away or have been away. Now, again, like I kind of briefly touched upon earlier, I don't think they can implement this to ranked because fundamentally it could be abused. We all like know that abused, again, it sounds weird, but if you have multiple accounts, you know, and people do. I have millions of them. I've not played on some of my ranked accounts for 4 or 5 years, you know. And if we got an easier time to jump back on those accounts and get a big boost in LP and, you know, all that stuff that they'd have to be careful of, technically players like me could just jump on an old Smurf for 4 or 5 years old that I've been dormant for that long, and then really climb very quick with revival MMR. So I do think they have to be very careful with it in ranked, and that's why I don't think they've put it in ranked. So yeah, that makes sense to me. Next up, what's this one? Okay, yeah. So I do know about this, unfortunately. So we've spoken about it a lot on this channel, and you know, I've not made any effort to hide my desire for solo only mode. But yeah, I've known for a little while. They're not doing it anytime soon. We'll read obviously what they've said, but fundamentally what I've been told is it boils down to they can't, how do I say, duo queue players exist, and there's 2 different types of duo queue, or there's a few types of duo queue players. There's the casual duo queue players that just do it. Oh, my friend's online, I'm playing ranked, they're playing ranked, let's just do it. But it's just the kind of convenience duo player. But the one that they're concerned about is the hardcore duo player, the only duo players, right? Those are the players that Riot is fundamentally concerned with, because right now there's not really a home for them. And I know, like I've said, the answer, oh, it's flex queue. Let's be honest, and I'll even admit this, flex isn't taken seriously, and it probably never will be taken seriously, let's be completely honest. And there already is a complete separation between solo queue and flex. You know, it's kind of funny, but if someone goes to you, I'm challenger, you're like, whoa, dude, that's insane, like, tell me more. And they go, oh yeah, I'm challenger, flex queue. One, they'll probably say it quiet, and then suddenly your whole perspective changes about that player. You know, it's still impressive, but it ain't solo queue. You know, we all would agree to that. And that's fundamentally the problem. So duo queue players, they don't want to think of themselves as lesser players. Although some of us probably do anyway, but they don't want to think of that themselves. And if they are put into flex queue, they themselves will think of themselves as lesser players. Does that make sense? So let's see what Riot says about it. So we are not currently, and they've done that in bold because trust me, they want to do it. They do. But they're not currently planning to separate solo and duo parties in ranked. While we still believe in the logic for why this could be a good idea, we first need to make sure that duo players have another place for a compelling competitive experience. Flex queue doesn't currently meet the bar. So it's basically what I knew about already. So what could they do about this? Well, obviously incentivize flex queue more, give it better rewards. Hell, give it better rewards than solo queue. The reward for solo queue is the kind of solo drive experience as it is. If you want to give more skins or whatever you want to give to flex queue to incentivize that and hopefully drive up competition, that's fine. I don't think people would really care that much who are pure solo. But my kind of main argument to it, and there's quite a few, one, I think there would be overall more positives than negatives for the solo experience. It would be more competitive, it'd be fairer, you wouldn't have boosting problems, like the list does go on. The amount of people that I see in my own games in the top less than 1% of the game that you are scared how they got to these ranks, and then you look at their profile and you see they're a duo player and you go, okay, it makes sense. It's worrying, it truly is. And one of my kind of final things that I would say of like why I would like it is it could fail, you know, but that's what Riot sometimes have done. We've had all different queues that some people haven't liked. I haven't liked a lot of the queues that Riot have done. I still don't like role select, but we just get on with it. But Riot have tried dynamic queue. They tried role queue. They have tried different queues, and if they haven't worked, they got rid of them. So for me, it's just a shame that they don't give it a go. I do believe they are going to do it one day. And I don't think it's actually too far down the line. They are thinking about what they can do. And the moment that they do kind of think of something, or they kind of make flex queue more competitive, they probably will go ahead and do it. So I would say if you are a pure duo player, potentially if you want to have that solo experience, obviously don't duo as much and get a bit less duo, what's the right word to say? Required. I can't literally think of the word. Duo reliant. There we go. Bam. And to the argument that I know, the main argument that I hear from people whenever this conversation has come up is, it's a video game. I want to have fun with my friend. I respect that, but ranked is ranked, right? You know, that is the argument that I would throw back, is ranked is the not complete for fun mode. It's the ranked mode. If you want the complete fun mode, that's normal games, or hell, there's even ARAM. So like, that is ranked. When it comes to ranked in me, that's where the mentality slightly shifts away from playing with my buddies to I'm now playing ranked. I like playing with friends. You know, I know people sometimes go, oh, Huz is a humbug, he doesn't like playing with his friends. I do. I play with my friends in video games a few times a week in various different games. I love playing multiplayer games with my friends, but ranked is just that mode that is my time to shine as a solo player, you know? But anyway, spent a lot of time on that anyway. Reevaluating our Summoner's Rift queue portfolio. So related to the above bullet, this is something we're interested in digging into going into next year. Specifically, we think there's a lot of untapped potential in the spaces of blind pick and normal draft are serving, which, by the way, a big proportion of players queue up for today. Not everyone plays ranked. I don't know if it's still true. God, this quote or whatever is literally probably at least 5 years old, so it might not be true anymore. But 5 odd years ago, I remember hearing that majority of players didn't play ranked. I still potentially think that's true, because like EU West is the biggest Western server that Riot have got, and I think actively there's 3 million ranked players on EU West. North America is half that, and EU Northeast is half EU West as well. So both of those have like 1.5 million each, and EU West is 3 million or something of that nature. There's a lot more than 3 million people on EU West playing League. You know, there's a lot more. So yeah, again, so they're looking to try and make it a little bit better potentially. Right, so they've done other things too. Role parity matchmaking improvements. So in 12.16, we made changes to matchmaking to put additional emphasis on matching players by position preference in ranked solo duo. In other words, trying to match primaries against primaries, secondaries against secondaries, and autofills against autofills. These changes have been quite successful, increasing the total number of games with role parity by around 15 to 30%, depending on region. In other words, you're less likely to be playing secondary top against that 800 game Riven main. I will say I have noticed that a little bit, but the one that is the most noticeable, and for some reason still happens, probably due to the nature that people don't want to play jungle, because Riot still hasn't done quite well with that role, and they just haven't figured it out, is jungle. Still quite commonly, I will have a jungle main on the opponent team and an autofill jungler on my team, and it does seem still fairly common, and you can usually guess how that goes, because it is the most unique role, but it is good that Riot is looking to do things about it. And then ranked-based matchmaking adjustments. So this is one that I've actually really noticed, and I'll explain how I have noticed it very quickly. But a side effect of using a visible rank to define fair matchmaking is that after the initial ranked rush in January, returning players, late season starters, and Smurfs ended up matched together frequently. This is because they all have significantly mismatched MMR and visible rank, whereas everyone else has already stabilized. In 12.17, we made tweaks to ranked matchmaking to more quickly accept differences based on visual rank. How have I noticed this really apparently? You might have even seen it if you've been watching the main account. The amount of Platinum 1 Smurfs that I've even Platinum 4 Smurf in a Diamond 1 Master game that I've had since they did this change is actually frightening. So where that normal Platinum 1 Smurf would have been in a Platinum 1 low Diamond ranked game, they're now suddenly in a Diamond 1 Master game because that's actually their MMR. So you could call it successful, and it is actively making it obviously Smurfs, and I know people don't obviously care about it, but it's harder to climb as a Smurf now because you don't have that complete, you're out of rank, right? You know, because it's not going to your rank, you know, the account's in plat, so you're in a plat game, doesn't do that anymore. You're MMR because you're winning so many games. You're in a plat account, but your MMR is Diamond 1. You're in a Diamond 1 game while you're in plat. Yes, you will probably, if you do win a game, win a lot of LP because the game is actively wanting to match your MMR and your visible rank to basically the same. So you'll gain a lot of LP and you won't lose that much, but it is a lot harder to actually climb. It's a much more of a slog for them. But there's that. Okay, so this is the part that we're actually excited about. What's cool? Dude, I did not know they were doing that. They've spoken about it in the past. What's coming next? Now, the more fun stuff. We're exploring several updates to Champion Select functionality that we think will upgrade the experience in ways that haven't been touched for a while. Optimistically, we'll be getting these out by the end of the year. Champion Select anonymity. They have spoken about this in a really long time. And the hilarious thing is, how do I say? You'll be, again, I think I mentioned earlier, did I mention earlier? I think I did, that I was in a dev meeting, but it was a different dev meeting, and there'll be a separate video about that in the next couple of days. Someone in that dev meeting, and all I'll say, asked what Riot's rule on the third-party softwares are. And Riot, they didn't give us a straight answer, but they did say they do feel they are somewhat overstepping what they should be. They are giving advantages that they shouldn't be. And, you know, you get so much information out of those third-party things now. You know, again, I have Professor as one of my partners, and it is very valuable. I don't look at the stuff before the game anymore because I can get tilted if I see an 800 game one-trick Lux on my team and they go 0-10 in lane phase, my mental goes boom. So I don't even look at that stuff anymore. But when I was calmer and I could have done it, and, you know, I will look at the before games again one day. But, like, there is valuable information there. I have straight up won early games because I saw on a Professor tag that someone's an invader, therefore they invade. Now, why am I talking about this? Well, in reality, if you do Champion Select, you're anonymous, those sites can't work because you'll be anonymous. They won't be able to see who you are. So that's kind of interesting. Obviously, I will also add, this is also for content creators, and it's also for one tricks and stuff like that. But anyway, today, a lot of players use external websites and third-party apps to provide all sorts of information about their teammates. With this information, players are drawing conclusions that aren't necessarily correct and pressuring their teammates into things they may not want to do, like picking the exact same champion every game because the highest win rate or most played. I have dealt with that even this year. The amount of times that I was trading with somebody on the Huzzy account and they would be hovering a Nivea and even saying, do you want your Nivea? And I'd be like, no, I want to play my Victor. And they'd be like, can you play your Nivea? Because the win rate was so good. You know, that does happen. And I don't see that as a massive negative personally. To be honest, I think the more negative thing is when you have a teammate hovering, they're Draven, and then you look at their stats, which some people do, and it's like, dude's played 25 games of Draven and he's won 2 games. Well, this is a loss. And, you know, is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? If you've got a terrible win rate on a champion, you've played a decent amount of it, you probably shouldn't be playing in a ranked game, but people do. But anyway, we think the best version of League is not one where you metagame based on the players in your lobby. Weigh who's on a win or a loss streak or playing a different champion, and dodge or pressure others to dodge when your setup doesn't meet perfect conditions. We're still thinking about details of implementation here, but our starting point likely is to be hiding all summoner names in Champ Select for ranked, solo, and duo. Wait, this is just going to become default. Oh, wow. What? I thought this would be like an opt-in. To expand this point, recognize there are legitimate reasons that someone might need to dodge a lobby, but there are also a lot that aren't done in good faith. We want to impact the motivations behind why dodging occurs to reduce the frequency in a natural way. So again, remember, they did obviously change how dodging works a little while ago because, and it kind of sounds weird, but for those that don't know, why did the dodge stuff change? Why did it go from, you know, pretty lax to then 12-hour dodge timer if you dodge 3 times? It was because of high rating. They called them dodge abusers. There was actually, I think it was actually on EU West mainly, that there was some people were keeping a leaderboard of the top certain players of how many times they dodged a week, and some of the worst abusers of it were dodging over 100 times a week. Think of that. How many of you play 100 games a week, let alone dodge 100 games a week? Like, that's mad. You know, they wanted perfect conditions no matter what, and if they didn't, bam, they'd just leave the game. And taking a 3 LP hit or taking a -10 was way better than a loss, and it also impacts your MMR a loss. Dodging doesn't impact your MMR, so you could dodge 5 games in a row, lose 50 odd LP from dodging, but then the next game you'll win a crazy amount of LP because your visible rank is now gone below your MMR, and that's not gone down. So the game's like, wait, you should be back up here, so we'll give you a lot more LP for your next win. And because they dodged so many games to just have perfect conditions, they climbed the ladder quite easily. So that's why Riot did the change, that they'd have these players would have 2 to 3 ranked accounts that they play on, and they just swap around on 2 to 3 accounts when one of them is on a half-an-hour dodge queue. Well, now it's a 12-hour dodge queue, so they can't do it as much. But this is another thing that they're probably trying to especially count dodging on. The only thing I will say, and, you know, this little thing here is what they're trying to say, there still is a lot of abuse when it comes to Champ Select of troll picks. And I'm not even like abuse of Champ Select. There's a lot of players that pick really dumb things in ranked that, you know, when you do look at their stuff and they've never, like earlier today, I literally was playing Draven and I had a one-trick Nami play AP NASA support for the first time ever and was useless, like absolutely useless. So if everything's anonymous, I then don't know, you know, and I didn't look up their profile before the game. Some people would, and they'd go, wait, you've never played it before. What are you doing? Because, you know, in Champions League, I did go, wait, what's going on? And they were like, oh, it's amazing. Don't worry about it. It's fantastic. They, you know, said all that stuff, but they never played it before. Some people will look up that person's account before the game and dodge because that person's never played it. If this happens, you can never do that. And I don't know if that's actually healthy. That's the only thing. Because then you don't know if that's a 1,000-game NASA support one trick that actually knows what he's doing and makes it work, even though it's a bad pick, makes it work. Or, like that, it's a one-trick Nami that is playing it for the first time ever. You don't know. And I think it proceeded to go like 0 and 11 or something, and I didn't have a support in lane phase. It was really bad. So I'm not completely sure about this. All I thought this was going to be, because Riot have spoken about it in the past, was some content creators do obviously have problems with trolls, and pros have problems with trolls, or, you know, they get their champions banned if they're a known one-trick streamer. I thought that was more going to be, you can click a button and anybody can do it, not just a content creator, but anybody can do it, that you decide to go anonymous in solo queue. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be, but apparently that's not what it is. Everybody will be, which is a bit weird. Pick order swapping. So this is a commonly requested feature that we already see in Wild Rift. Today, you have to go through an extensive discussion in chat to effectively swap your pick order. Can I pick for you? Do you have my champion? Do I have your champion? There are a lot of ways that we can break this down in another way, you know, one way or another. And this is assuming that everyone in the lobby even speaks the same language. By letting teams swap pick order with the press of a button, we hope to streamline the process of crafting your draft to be successful. So yeah, this just is a no-brainer. Instead of doing the whole champion swap things, and it always happens, we've always seen it of, oh damn, they didn't swap, oh my god, you know, Draven's got some support. Why am I saying Draven at the moment? But Draven's got support stuff and the Soraka's got Draven stuff. That's terrible. It just gets rid of that potential. It truly does. So I think that's just overall good. There's a missing picture here, unfortunately. F in chat. Loadout recommender. Like we provide item recommendations in the game, we want to provide rune and summoner spell recommendations during champ select. This should help narrow the gap between players who are comfortable with the rune and summoner spell systems and those who aren't. We want to reduce barriers to entry and ensure players the best possible experience with the rune systems when initially ramping up the game. Additionally, this should be helpful for more veteran players who might currently go to external websites or apps to learn what to take on a champion they're not familiar with. That's it for now. Given some recent organization and sharper focus, we're optimistic about being able to move more quickly in these spaces that we have in the past and continuing to evaluate new opportunities and some big bets for the next year. So there we go. Overall, pretty good. Again, I can't hide it. I am disappointed about this. This is probably my biggest disappointment. But as a, you know, they're not currently doing it. As I said earlier, I think they will do it eventually. I do think it's going to happen. And it might go bad. You know, I don't see it going, but the only way that it can go bad, because I think it would overall be a great success for solo players, if the duo population leaves the game. You know, that's the only way Riot's going to react badly, is that if they actively lose players because of it. And the only thing that I would say that Riot, I would imagine, will have a problem is if they do implement it, and I think this is where they also are hesitant. If they do implement it, and it's absolutely loved by solo players, they, yes, would upset duo players, but then if they are like, well, we have to revert it, we have to bring back duo to solo queue, you're then going to really upset solo players because they would have then got used to that, and it's going to be a much better experience for them. So that's the dilemma that I think Riot's in. They know it's a better experience in some avenues for those, like a lot of players. It's not going to be as a good experience with duo players, naturally. But if they can give those duo players a competitive home that they're happy about, then it's a win-win. Flex queue obviously is that, but it's just not at that bar yet. And we'll see what Riot can do about it. But overall, pretty interesting. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this. I enjoyed making it. I love these type of discussion videos. So I invite you to discuss down below. What do you think of the updates? If you want to leave a comment and you can kind of give a comment about each thing, or just give a comment about the thing you care about the most, that would be pretty cool. But anyway, that's going to be it. If you guys enjoyed, please do throw a like on it, throw a comment, throw a subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our glory to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know.